Imagine, if you will, a medical impossibility. Picture a living creature, a warm-blooded mammal, just like you or me, deciding to shut down the machinery of life. Imagine a heart that decides to stop beating almost entirely, dropping from a rhythmic thrum to a ghostly, singular pulse every minute. Imagine blood that becomes thick and sludge-like, yet never clots. Imagine bones that cease to remodel, muscles that do not move for half a year, and kidneys that completely stop filtering waste. If a human attempted this, if you were to lie in a frozen cave for 6 months without food, water, or movement, you would not survive a week. Your muscles would atrophy until they were useless strings. Your blood would turn into a fatal gel. Your bones would dissolve into dust, leaving you frail and broken. Your body would become a tomb. But for the creature we are visiting tonight, this proximity to death is not an ending. It is a strategy. It is the single most miraculous feat of biology on our planet. It is a suspended animation, so profound that scientists still do not fully understand how it is possible. It is a deep, dark magic that turns the lethal cold of winter into a cradle of life. We call it hibernation. But that word is too small, too simple. What is happening is a masterful negotiation with mortality itself. This creature walks to the edge of the abyss, looks down into the darkness, and simply decides to float. Before we descend into that darkness together, before we walk the snowy path to the hidden den, I invite you to join our circle of night travelers. If you find peace in these whispers of science and mystery, please subscribe to this channel. Your support allows us to continue exploring the quietest corners of the universe. Now, let the heavy curtain of the night fall. Let the world outside fade. We have a long journey ahead. We begin at the end of the sun, the end of the noise, the end of the golden season. To understand the great sleep, you must first stand in the landscape that demands it. Place yourself in the vast, boreal forests of the north. It is late October. The air has changed. It no longer carries the sweet, green scent of sap and pine resin. Instead, the air tastes metallic. It tastes like wet iron and old stone. It is the scent of a world that is locking its doors. The sky, which was once a piercing, infinite blue, has lowered itself. It hangs heavy above the treetops, a bruised canopy of slate gray and charcoal. In this fading light, a giant moves. He is a male grizzly, a monarch of this territory. He is massive, a walking mountain of fur and muscle, weighing nearly 600 pounds. For the last few months, he has been possessed by a singular, frantic drive known as hyperphagia. He has been an eating machine, consuming 20,000 calories a day, driven by a hormonal hunger that felt like a fire in his belly. He was expanding, growing, layering his body with the fuel he would need to survive the impossible. But today, the hunger is gone. This is the first mystery. How does the body know? There is no calendar on the forest wall. There is no alarm that rings to say the feast is over. The signal is far more ancient, woven into the very fabric of light and time. As the earth tilts on its axis, leaning its northern hemisphere away from the sun, the days are sliced away, minute by precious minute. This shortening of the day, this photoperiod, is not just a visual change. It is a physical invasion. The light, or rather, the lack of it, enters the bear's eyes and travels deep into the brain, to a tiny, pine cone-shaped structure called the pineal gland. This is the third eye of the vertebrate brain, the seat of the soul according to old philosophers. But to the biologist, it is the master clock. As the shadows lengthen, the pineal gland begins to flood the bear's bloodstream with melatonin. This is not merely a hormone that makes one drowsy. In these massive quantities, it is a chemical command. It is a biological decree that overrides every other instinct. It acts as a dimmer switch for the entire organism. It whispers to the thyroid to slow down the metabolism. It whispers to the stomach to stop churning. It whispers to the heart to soften its beat. The bear pauses mid-step. A week ago, he would have torn apart a rotten log to get to the grubs inside. He would have chased a salmon into the freezing rapids. Today, he looks at the log and feels nothing. The drive to consume has been replaced by a heavier, sweeter gravity. He is being pulled down. The earth itself seems to be magnetized, drawing his heavy belly closer to the soil. There is a profound lesson in this transition. We humans fight the seasons. When the days get dark, we turn on bright artificial lights. When the cold comes, we crank up the heat and rush faster to keep warm. We view winter as an adversary, something to be battled and overcome. The bear views winter as a permission slip. He accepts the low light. He accepts the cold. He understands that to survive, one must stop striving. He understands that the only way to endure the storm is to become as still as the stone beneath it. The forest around him is silent. The birds have long since migrated, taking their songs to the south. The squirrels have retreated into their hollows. The insects have burrowed into the mud, freezing into tiny statues. The silence is not empty. It is expectant. It is the silence of a concert hall just before the first note is played. And then it begins. The first snowflake falls. It is a singular, intricate star of ice drifting down from the gray void. It lands on the bear's nose, distinct and cold, before melting into a tiny bead of water. Then another falls, and another. The temperature plummets. dropping past the freezing point, past the point of comfort, down into the numbers that freeze breath in the throat. To us, this cold is a threat, it is pain, but to the bear, standing there with his coat grown thick and lush, the cold is a blanket. He has prepared a layer of fat, 4 inches thick, wrapping his vital organs in a warm, nutrient-dense embrace. He is carrying his own hearth fire within him. He does not need the sun anymore. He has become his own sun. He begins to walk, but his gait has changed. He is no longer the apex predator patrolling his domain. He is a pilgrim seeking a sanctuary. He moves with a slow, rolling lethargy. His paws, equipped with claws that can crush bone, now step softly on the gathering snow. He is moving toward a memory. Perhaps it is a den he dug himself weeks ago, moving tons of earth with a tireless rhythm. Perhaps it is a natural cave, a hollow beneath the twisted roots of a grandsire cedar tree that has stood for centuries. He knows where he must go. The instinct is drawn on a map inside his blood. As he approaches the den, the biological synchronization reaches a crescendo. His body is effectively shutting down the non-essential systems. It is an act of extreme efficiency. Why keep the factory running when the raw materials have run out? The digestive tract, which has been a furnace of energy processing, begins to shrink. The intestines shrivel. The stomach contracts. The bear is physically changing his anatomy to accommodate the sleep. He is becoming a vessel for the soul, stripping away the needs of the flesh. It is a deeply spiritual shedding. He is letting go of the world. He is letting go of the taste of berries. He is letting go of the warmth of the sun on his back. He is letting go of the rivalry with other bears. He is releasing his grip on everything that defines his waking life. How terrified we are to let go of our identities. Even for a moment, we cling to our names, our jobs, our worries. The bear lets them all fall away like dead leaves. He is returning to the source. The entrance to the den is dark. It is a small aperture, a mouth in the earth waiting to swallow him. A human might look at that dark hole and feel claustrophobia, the fear of being buried alive. The bear looks at it and feels only an irresistible embrace. It is the womb of the mother. It is the only place in the vast, freezing wilderness where safety exists. He steps through the threshold. The light of the world is instantly cut off. The wind's howl becomes a distant, muffled murmur. Inside, the air is still. It smells of dry earth, of pine needles, of old roots. It is the scent of deep time. He circles once, twice, 3 times, trampling down the bed of moss and boughs he arranged so carefully. This circling is a ritual, a final chaotic motion. Before the long stillness, he feels the contours of the earth against his spine. He feels the boundaries of the cave walls. He is contained. He is held. With a heavy, rattling exhale, he lowers his massive frame. The sound is like a great bellows collapsing. He tucks his nose, that sensitive instrument that has guided him through 1,000 miles of wilderness, into the warmth of his flank. He curls his legs inward. He becomes a sphere. He closes the circuit of his own heat. This is the moment of crossing over. The barrier between consciousness and the great unknown is dissolving. The pineal gland opens, the floodgates of melatonin. The brain waves, once sharp and jagged with alertness, begin to smooth out. They lengthen into the rolling, oceanic swells of delta waves. The beta rhythm of the anxious, watching mind is extinguished. He is not just sleeping. He is departing. As the snow outside begins to pile up, sealing the entrance to the den, blocking out the last gray light of the afternoon. The bear is no longer a creature of the forest. He has become a seed planted in the winter earth. He has surrendered his will to the turning of the planet. This is not a coma. It is not death. It is a trance of preservation. It is a trust so absolute that it defies human comprehension. To trust that the heart will keep beating without help. To trust that the breath will return after a minute of silence. To trust that the fat will feed the fire. To trust that spring, which seems impossible now in this iron grip of winter, will return. The first chapter of his journey is complete. He has heard the call. He has answered. He has entered the dark. And as his eyelids grow heavy and seal shut, shielding him from the empty blackness of the cave, he leaves us behind. We are still standing outside in the snow, watching the white powder cover his tracks, erasing the proof that he was ever here. But we will follow him, not with our bodies, but with our minds. In the next chapter of this journey, we will dare to go where the light cannot follow. We will slip through the earth and enter the den ourselves. We will lie beside the sleeping giant and discover the secret warmth that defies the blizzard. We will learn how a home is built not of wood and stone, but of stillness and heat. But for now, the snow is falling harder. The world is turning white and silent and soft. The door is closed. The great sleep has begun. And you, listening to this in the safety of your own sanctuary, you too can feel the pull. You too can feel the gravity of the winter. Let your eyes close. Let the world fade. The darkness is not empty. It is full of rest. It is waiting for you. As the falling snow seals the entrance to the cave, erasing the last connection to the waking world above, we do not turn back. Instead, we dissolve through the heavy curtain of earth and root to join the sleeper inside. We are now within the sanctuary. Welcome to the warm den. If you have ever built a fort of blankets as a child, pulling the edges tight to shut out the monsters of the hallway. You have known a fraction of this feeling, but the architecture of the bear's hibernation den is far more profound than any childhood game. It is a structure engineered by millions of years of evolution, designed with a singular purpose: to conquer the void of winter through the physics of containment. The first thing you notice here is the absolute nature of the darkness. In our modern lives, we rarely experience true dark. There is always the bleed of a streetlight, the glow of a digital clock, the standby light of a television. But here, beneath the twisted roots of the great cedar, or deep within the limestone cleft, the darkness is total. It is not an empty blackness, however. It has a texture. It feels heavy, like thick velvet draped over your eyes. It is a darkness that does not demand you look for anything, because there is nothing to see. It frees the mind from the tyranny of the visual world. The air here is different too. Outside, the wind is a knife, slicing through the trees with a howling edge that freezes moisture instantly. But inside the den, the air is still. It is a stagnant pool of calm. It carries the scent of the earth itself, a rich, loamy perfume of damp soil, crushed pine needles, and the musk of the bear's own fur. It smells of safety. It smells of a place where time has been told to wait outside. Let us look at the bed. Before the great lethargy took hold, the bear was a meticulous architect of his own comfort. He did not simply lie down on the cold stone or the frozen dirt. He spent days gathering. He dragged in boughs of spruce, springy and fragrant. He collected armfuls of dried moss, ferns that had turned bronze in the autumn chill, and leaves from the forest floor. He wove them into a mattress, a nest that contours perfectly to his massive frame. This nest is not merely for softness. It is a masterpiece of insulation. By lifting his body off the ground, he creates a barrier against the conductive cooling of the earth. The air trapped between the spruce needles and the dried leaves acts as a thermal break. In the physics of cold, stillness is the enemy of freezing. If the air cannot move, it cannot carry the heat away. The bear is floating on a raft of trapped air, suspended above the cold reality of the ground. But the den itself is only the outer shell. The true miracle of warmth lies closer. It lies in the bear's own body. We often speak of fat with disdain in our human world. We fight it, we hide it, we shame it. But here, in the deep winter, fat is the hero of the story. It is the most precious substance in the wilderness. It is liquid gold. During the months of hyperphagia, the bear built a suit of biological armor. Underneath his thick, coarse outer fur which sheds water and blocks the wind, and underneath the dense, woolly undercoat that traps heat against the skin, lies a layer of adipose tissue that can be 5 inches thick. Imagine wearing a wetsuit made of pure energy. This layer of fat is a miraculous insulator. It has very few blood vessels compared to muscle, which means the cold from the outside cannot easily travel through it to reach the warm core, and the heat from the inside cannot easily escape. It is a perfect seal. It wraps the bear's vital organs, the heart, the lungs, the liver, in a perpetual embrace of warmth, while the storm rages outside, dropping the temperature to 20 or 30 degrees below zero. Inside this suit of armor, the bear maintains a tropical climate. He is carrying his own summer with him. He is a self-contained island of heat in an ocean of ice. There is a concept in thermodynamics called a closed loop, and that is what the bear has become. He creates a microclimate within the den. As his body radiates heat, that warmth hits the earthen walls of the small chamber. Because the den is small, often just big enough for his body heat, the heat does not dissipate into a vast emptiness. It stays close. The walls absorb the warmth and radiate it back. The snow that has piled up over the entrance acts as a roof of insulation. For snow is 90% trapped air, a chaotic lattice of ice crystals that refuses to let heat pass. The bear, the nest, the earth, and the snow, they form a single, unified thermal engine. The heat leaves the bear, warms the air, warms the walls, and wraps back around him like an invisible blanket. He is hugged by his own existence. Now visualize the posture of the sleeper. He does not sprawl. To sprawl is to expose surface area, and surface area is the thief of heat. Instead, he curls. He tucks his massive paws beneath him. He brings his knees up to his chest. He lowers his heavy head until his chin rests on his forearms. And then he performs the final act of sealing the vessel. He tucks his nose, his moist, hairless, heat-leaking nose into the thick fur of his flank or his groin. This is the thermal window, the one place where the cold might creep in. By burying it in his own warmth, he closes the circle. He becomes a sphere. Geometrically, a sphere has the smallest possible surface area for its volume. He has folded himself into the most efficient shape in the universe. In this position, he is impenetrable. The psychological safety of this place is as palpable as the warmth. For a massive predator who spends his life defending territory, fighting for mates and hunting for calories, the world is a place of constant vigilance. His ears are always twitching toward the snap of a twig. His nose is always testing the wind for the scent of arrival. His eyes are always scanning the horizon. The burden of being alive in the wild is the burden of never fully letting go. But here, in the warm den, There are no rivals. There is no prey. The wind carries no scent because the world is frozen. The silence is absolute. For the first time in months, the bear's nervous system can unclench. The cortisol, the stress hormone that keeps the body alert, drains away. It is replaced by the soothing neurochemistry of safety. This is a sanctuary of the mind as much as the body. It is a place where doing stops and being begins. Think of how you feel when you are buried under a heavy quilt on a rainy Sunday morning. The world outside is wet and gray and demanding, but you are in a pocket of warmth that feels timeless. You know that, for this moment, nobody can ask anything of you. You are invisible to the demands of life. The bear is the master of this invisibility. He has vanished from the map. The wolves may howl on the ridge. The deer may shiver in the thicket, but the bear is gone. He has retreated into the center of the earth. He is being cradled by the soil that birthed him. As he settles deeper into the nest, shifting his weight until the spruce boughs conform perfectly to his ribs, a profound stillness settles over the chamber. The boundaries between the bear and the den begin to blur. He is no longer separate from the earth. He is part of it. He is a stone that breathes. He is a root that beats. The warmth we are talking about is not a searing heat. It is not the heat of a bonfire. It is the gentle, steady, abiding heat of an ember buried in ash. It is a pilot light. It glows softly in the dark, sufficient to sustain life, but careful not to burn too brightly. It is a patient heat. This den is a time capsule. Outside, the sun will rise and set, day after weak winter day. Storms will strip the branches bare. Ice will crack and boom on the frozen lake. The moon will wax and wane, pulling the tides of the ocean. But in here, there is no time. There is only the constant temperature, the constant dark, the constant safety. The bear's breathing begins to synchronize with the stillness of the air around him. The atmosphere in the den is heavy with carbon dioxide, which acts as a natural sedative. It sits low in the small space, wrapping around him like a gentle anesthetic, deepening the trance. Nature is drugging him with his own breath, ensuring that he does not wake, that he does not stir, that he does not break the seal of his hibernation. This isolation is necessary. If he were to wake up now, confusing the silence for safety, and step outside, the cold would strip him of his energy in hours. The den is his life support system. It is the shell of the egg, and he is the yolk, waiting, suspended, protected. As we lie here in the dark with him, observing this miracle of containment, we can feel the sympathetic relaxation in our own bodies. We are creatures of the light, yes, but we carry an ancient memory of the cave. We remember what it was like to hide from the thunder, We remember the safety of small, enclosed spaces. The bear teaches us that retreat is not weakness. Retreat is a strategy for survival. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is to stop fighting the storm, build a nest, and let the snow bury you until the danger has passed. In this warm, dark, confined space, the bear has everything he needs. He has insulation. He has concealment. He has peace. The external world has been shut out completely. And now that the stage is set, now that the theater is dark and the doors are locked, the real magic can begin. Because while the den is still, the body is about to undergo a transformation that defies medical science. The bear is comfortable now. He is safe. And as the last tension leaves his muscles, as the last thought of the waking world dissolves into the velvet blackness, he prepares to adjust the very rhythm of his existence. We leave him here, curled in his sphere of fur and fat, tucked into the roots of the world, floating in his private sea of warmth. But we do not leave the story. We are merely moving from the architecture of the den to the architecture of the heart. The walls are built. The heat is trapped. The sleeper is ready. And as we prepare to drift deeper into his physiology, to listen to the slow, heavy drum that counts the seconds of the winter, let yourself feel the phantom weight of that earthen roof above you. You are safe here. You are hidden. The storm cannot touch you. There is only the warmth radiating from the center, holding back the cold forever and for now. With the physical fortress of the den now sealed against the storm, and the massive body curled into its perfect, heat-preserving sphere, we must journey past the heavy fur and the thick layers of insulation to witness the quieting of the engine room itself. If you were to press your ear against the chest of a sleeping giant in the middle of summer, you would hear a sound of tremendous, vibrant violence. In July, the heart of a grizzly bear is a thunderous drum. It is the engine of a conqueror. It pumps 40 or 50 times a minute when at rest, and nearly 100 times a minute when charging through a river or climbing a scree slope. It is a heart designed for power, for aggression, for the high-octane demands of being the apex predator. It drives blood through the arteries with the force of a fire hose, fueling muscles that can flip boulders and outrun horses. That summer heart is a clock that ticks fast, counting down the seconds of the season, rushing to consume, to mate, to dominate. It is a heart that understands urgency. But here, in the dark beneath the snow, urgency is a poison. Urgency burns fuel, and fuel is the only currency the bear has left. If that great drum were to keep beating at its summer rhythm, the bear would burn through his fat reserves before January was over. He would wake up starving in the dead of winter, a ghost in a frozen wasteland. So, the heart must do something that defies our understanding of medicine. It must learn the art of the long pause. As the bear settles into the pine boughs, the change begins deep in the nervous system, the vagus nerve, a long, wandering telephone line that connects the brain to the depths of the thorax, begins to send a new signal. It is a signal of profound inhibition. It is a gentle hand reaching out to catch a spinning wheel. The chemical message is simple: slow down, there is nowhere to go. Imagine a freight train that has been barreling across the country at full speed. Now, it cuts the engine. It doesn't slam on the brakes that would be catastrophic. Instead, it lets the friction of the tracks take over. The momentum begins to bleed away. The wheels turn slower and slower. The rhythmic clack, 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 clack of the tracks stretches out. This is what is happening inside the bear's chest. The rhythm of 50 beats drops to 40, then to 30, then 20. It feels like a magnificent, heavy machinery winding down for the night, and finally, it settles into a rhythm that is almost terrifying in its stillness. 8 beats per minute, sometimes 10, but often just 8. Let us sit with that number for a moment. 8 beats in 60 seconds. In a human, a heart rate this low would signal the end of life. Monitors would scream. Doctors would rush. We are creatures of constant flow, terrified of the pause. Our hearts are anxious birds, fluttering away in our chests, ensuring that fresh, oxygenated blood is constantly washing over our brains every second. We live in fear of the silence between the beats. But the bear embraces it. He enters a state of deep, physiological meditation. I want you to try and feel the length of that silence. Close your eyes and imagine the sensation. Thump, and then, waiting. 1 second passes, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds. Thump. In that vast, cavernous silence between the first beat and the second, there is a universe of peace. It is not an empty silence. It is a pregnant one. It is a silence of potential. The heart is waiting. It is resting. It is effectively shutting off for the majority of the bear's winter life. If you calculate it, for 50-some seconds of every minute, the bear's heart is doing absolutely nothing. It is coasting. It is floating in the dark fluid of the body, suspended in a state of grace. This phenomenon is known to science as extreme respiratory sinus arrhythmia. But that clinical term does no justice to the poetry of what is happening. What it means, in the language of the story, is that the heart has become a servant of the breath. In our waking lives, our hearts beat independently, a steady metronome, keeping time regardless of what we are doing. But in the den, the bear's heart creates a partnership with the lungs. The heart says to the lungs, "I will not beat until you breathe." So, the bear takes a breath, a shallow, sipping inhalation we will explore later, and the heart wakes up. It gives 3 or 4 quick, strong beats to rush the oxygen around the body. Bump, bump, bump. And then, as the breath releases, the heart stops again. It enters a standstill. It waits for the next breath, which might not come for another minute. It is a biological waltz, slow and synchronized, where movement only happens when absolutely necessary. This is the ultimate efficiency. Why pump blood if there is no fresh oxygen to carry? It would be a waste of energy. It would be spending gold on a product that hasn't been delivered. So the heart waits. It conserves every ounce of effort. It creates a silence so loud it drowns out the biological noise of living. Now, imagine the blood itself. In the summer, the bear's blood is like a mountain river in flood, turbulent, frothy, rushing through the veins, slamming against the walls of the arteries. But as the heart rate drops to this ghostly rhythm, the river turns into a swamp. The blood cools, it thickens, it becomes viscous, moving like warm honey or molasses through a jar. You can almost feel this heaviness in your own limbs as you listen. Imagine your own blood slowing down, becoming heavy and warm. It doesn't rush to your fingertips or your toes. It lingers in the center. It pools gently in the great chambers of the torso. This slow-moving blood presents another mystery. In human medicine, blood that sits still clots. It turns into a solid, creating blockages that kill. If you lay in a hospital bed for 6 months without moving, your blood would turn against you. But the bear is a master alchemist. His blood remains perfectly fluid. His body changes the chemistry of his clotting factors. He produces natural blood thinners, secrets that our doctors are still trying to steal. He keeps the river flowing just enough to sustain life, but slow enough to mock time. He is existing in a state of metabolic suppression. This is not just sleep. It is a fundamental shift in the physics of biology. He is hovering on the glimmering edge between life and death. He has turned the dimmer switch of his existence down to the lowest possible setting without clicking it off. And here is the most beautiful paradox of the winter heart. We might assume that a heart beating so slowly for so long would become weak. We know that muscles atrophy when they are not used. An astronaut returns from space with a shrunken heart because it hasn't had to work against gravity. A patient on bed rest loses heart mass. We associate stillness with weakness, but the bear defies this rule. When he wakes up in the spring, his heart is just as strong, just as muscular, just as powerful as it was in the autumn. How? It turns out that the left ventricle, the main pumping chamber of the heart, actually works harder during those few, rare beats in the winter. Because the heart pauses for so long, the chamber fills up with more blood than usual. It stretches wide to push that heavy, extra load of viscous, honey-like blood. The heart has to contract with immense force. It is like a weightlifter doing one massive, heavy lift every minute, instead of 100 light ones. The resistance of the stiff, cold arteries gives the heart a workout even as it sleeps. The bear is exercising his heart by doing nothing. It keeps the muscle tone absolute. It keeps the walls of the chamber rigid and powerful. This teaches us a profound lesson about the nature of rest. We are terrified that if we stop, if we step off the treadmill of our lives, we will lose our edge. We think that if we are not constantly pumping, answering emails, solving problems, moving fast, we will become weak. The bear teaches us that this is a lie. Deep rest does not weaken you. It preserves you. The silence does not erode your strength. It concentrates it. The bear emerges from the den with a heart ready to charge up a mountain. He has not lost a single ounce of his power. He has stored it. He has banked it in the silence. As you lie here, mirroring the bear in the dark, turn your attention to the rhythm in your own chest. You cannot slow your heart to 8 beats a minute. You are human, and your brain needs more than that. But you can borrow the feeling. You can borrow the philosophy. Imagine that your heart is no longer a clock ticking away the seconds of your life. Imagine it is a drum marking a slower, more ancient time. Feel the pause between your own beats. Usually, we ignore that space. We focus on the thump. But focus on the silence after the thump. That is where the rest lives. That is where the bear lives. Thump, thump, silence. Thump, thump, silence. Can you widen that gap? Not by force, but by permission. Can you tell your heart that there is no emergency? There is no bear to fight. There is no salmon to catch. There is no deadline to meet. The winter is long, and the night is young. The bear is now deeply under. The connection between his brain and his body has shifted. The loud, chaotic signals of the summer nervous system, the dopamine, the adrenaline have washed away. They have been replaced by the soft, dark waters of acetylcholine and adenosine. These are the chemicals of heavy eyelids and heavy limbs. His heart is a lonely bell ringing in the night. It beats once for the rising moon. It waits. It beats once for the shifting stars. It waits. It beats once for the falling snow. It is a rhythm of total trust. The bear trusts his body to keep him alive. He surrenders the need to control the flow. He surrenders the need to be busy. He understands that life can exist in the quietest, smallest movements. And in that slow rhythm, the bear finds a connection to the earth itself. The earth does not rush. The mountains do not run. The trees do not panic. They exist in deep time. By slowing his heart, the bear aligns himself with the frequency of the stone and the root. He becomes geological. He becomes part of the planet's crust. Just another warm rock buried in the soil, humming with a faint, secret life. The heat we spoke of in the last chapter, that contained sphere of warmth, is circulated by these rare, precious heartbeats. The warm blood moves lazily out to the tissues, whispering, "I am here," and then retreating. It is a gentle reminder of life, not a shout. We have now traveled from the external world into the den, and from the den into the chest cavity of the sleeper. We have synchronized our pulse with the drum of the deep. But there is one more rhythm we must explore to fully understand this symphony of suspension. The heart has quieted, but the air must still move. As we leave the beating heart to its solitary, slow vigil, we turn our attention to the wind. In the silence of the den, the bear is about to perform another miracle, one involving the very air he breathes. He is going to teach us how to survive without drinking, how to recycle the ocean within, and how to hold the breath of the earth for minutes at a time. But that is the story of the lungs, and it waits for us in the next chapter. For now, stay with the heart, stay with the slow, heavy thrum. Let it lull you. Let the long pauses between the beats become the long pauses in your own thoughts. Let the silence expand until there is no room left for worry. There is only the beat and the weight, and the beat and the peace. Leaving the crimson darkness of the chest cavity, where the heart beats its solitary, slow rhythm, we drift upward now, moving from the liquid drum of the blood to the silent, invisible caverns of the lungs. If the heart is the clock of the body, counting out the seconds of existence, then the breath is the wind that moves through the house of life. And here, in the depths of the great hibernation, the wind has ceased to blow. In the waking world of summer, breath is a noisy, demanding affair. Think of the bear in August, chasing a salmon through a churning river, or tearing apart a rotting log in search of grubs. His lungs are like great bellows, heaving in and out, consuming gallons of atmosphere with every stride. Huff, huff, huff. It is the sound of a furnace that is hungry for oxygen, a fire that needs constant fanning to burn bright and hot. We humans know this rhythm well. We live our lives panting. We are constantly sipping at the air, terrified of running out, treating oxygen like a scarcity that must be hoarded. We breathe 12, 15, 20 times a minute, a frantic, shallow rhythm that betrays our constant state of low-grade anxiety. But in the den, under the crushing weight of the snow, the fire has changed. The bear has entered a state of profound metabolic suppression. This is not merely a slowing down of movement. It is a fundamental rewriting of the chemical equations that keep an organism alive. The furnace has been dampened. The demand has dropped, and because the fire is low, the bellows can afford to rest. Let us observe this miracle of respiration. The air inside the den is still. It is not the fresh, biting wind of the blizzard outside. It is a pool of stagnant, heavy air, warm with the scent of pine boughs and musk. It hangs there, waiting. The bear lies curled in his ball of fur, his nose tucked deep into his flank to preserve moisture. And then he takes a breath, one single, long inhale. The air travels down the trachea, past the relaxed vocal cords that once roared at rivals, and fills the pink, spongy architecture of the lungs. But it does not rush, it drifts. It fills the alveoli, those tiny sacs, where the blood meets the air like a tide slowly filling a harbor. And then nothing. The bear does not exhale immediately. He holds it. In a human, this pause is a moment of panic. If you hold your breath for 30 seconds, your brain begins to scream. Your diaphragm spasms. The urge to breathe becomes a physical pain. A terrifying alarm bell ringing in the primal center of your mind. We are addicted to the flow. We cannot tolerate the stillness. But for the bear, this pause is not a struggle. It is a strategy. It is a state of suspension. He holds that single breath for 30 seconds, then 45 seconds, sometimes for a full minute or more. Science calls this sleep apnea, a term that usually implies a disorder, a frightening interruption of sleep. But here, in the womb of winter, apnea is a superpower. It is a deliberate, graceful pause in the conversation between the body and the world. During this long silence, the bear is not suffocating. He is floating. His cells have switched their machinery to a different mode. They have become efficient misers. They are sipping oxygen molecule by molecule, savoring it, stretching it out like a precious vintage wine. The blood, moving so sluggishly through the veins, picks up the oxygen without hurry. Come with me. The blood seems to whisper, we have a long way to go, and we have all winter to get there. Why does the bear do this? Why does he hold the air inside him for so long? The answer lies in the moisture. This is one of the deepest secrets of the den. Every time you exhale, you lose a little piece of yourself. You lose water. Think of a cold morning when you can see your breath. That white cloud is water vapor leaving your body, evaporating into the emptiness. It is a leak. If the bear breathed normally all winter, He would dehydrate. He would wither and desiccate. There is no water to drink in the den. The rivers are locked in ice. The snow is frozen solid. He cannot eat snow without lowering his body temperature, which would cost too much energy to heat back up. So, the bear must become a closed system. He must become a planet of one, recycling his own ocean. By slowing his breathing to just 1 or 2 breaths per minute, and by holding that air deep inside his warm lungs, he keeps the water vapor from escaping. He traps the humidity. He reabsorbs it into his blood. He refuses to give his moisture to the dry winter air. Imagine the level of trust required to do this. To trust that the air will still be there when you finally decide to take another sip. To trust that your body can sustain itself in the silence. I want you to try to visualize this rhythm in your own mind. It is the rhythm of the ocean tide, but slower, much, much slower. Imagine you are standing on a beach at night under a cloudy sky. The water is dark and glassy. A wave comes in. Inhale. It washes up the sand, slowly reaching for your toes. And then it stops. It hangs there. The water doesn't recede immediately. It just pauses. It reflects the moonlight. It is perfectly still. The froth settles. The noise dies down. That is the space between the breaths. That is the apneic pause. That is where the magic happens. In that pause, the heart slows down even further, bowing in reverence to the stillness of the lungs. The brain waves smooth out into long, rolling valleys of delta waves. Thoughts evaporate. Dreams become static. The bear exists in a timeless void, and then, finally, gravity takes over. The wave recedes. Exhale. The breath leaves the bear's body, a tiny, imperceptible puff of warmth into the cool den. And the cycle ends. This relationship with the air creates a unique atmosphere within the den itself. Because the bear breathes so infrequently, and because the den is sealed with snow and earth, the level of carbon dioxide begins to rise. In our world, high CO2 is a signal of danger. It triggers panic. It makes us gasp. But here, the carbon dioxide acts as a blanket. As the levels rise slightly in the small chamber, the CO2 acts as a natural sedative. It creates a narcotic effect. It dulls the senses. It makes the sleep deeper, heavier, more impenetrable. The bear is essentially drugged by his own efficiency. He is intoxicated by the stillness. The chemistry of the air wraps around him, ensuring that he does not wake up too soon, that he does not stir when a tree snaps in the forest above. It holds him down in the sweet, dark mud of unconsciousness. It is a profound lesson in equilibrium. The bear is not fighting the atmosphere of the den. He is harmonizing with it. He is becoming one with the air he breathes. Consider the diaphragm, that hard-working sheet of muscle at the bottom of the rib cage. In you, right now, it is working tirelessly. It contracts and relaxes, 20,000 times a day. It never takes a holiday. But in the bear, the diaphragm is enjoying a long vacation. It moves rarely. It rests. Imagine the feeling of that relaxation in your own chest. Picture your ribs. They are usually cages of tension, holding in your stress, expanding and contracting with effort. Now, imagine they are made of heavy lead. They are sinking into the mattress. They don't need to heave. They don't need to sigh. They just need to exist. We spend so much of our lives hyperventilating. We breathe fast because we are thinking fast. We breathe fast because we are scared that if we stop, we will fall behind. We treat breath like fuel for a race car. But tonight, the bear invites you to treat breath like a slow-moving river. You don't need to push the river. It flows by itself. The bear is engaging in gas exchange at the very absolute limit of what is physically possible for a mammal. He is hovering on the razor's edge of animation. He is almost a stone. He is almost a log. But that pilot light, the one we will visit in the next chapter, is still burning. The oxygen is still reaching the cells, but only exactly as much as is needed, not a molecule more. There is no waste here. There is no excess. This is the ultimate conservation. How often do we waste our breath? How often do we waste our energy on words that don't need to be spoken, on anxieties that don't need to be felt? The bear teaches us to be stingy with our energy so that we can be generous with our rest. He teaches us that we do not need to constantly interact with the world to be part of it. We can just be. As the months of winter drag on January, February, March, the snow outside deepens. Blizzards bury the landscape in white silence. Trees crack under the weight of ice. The wind howls like a banshee seeking entry. But inside the den, the rhythm never changes. One breath. Silence, silence, silence. One breath. It is a hypnotic drone. It is the ultimate lullaby. If you were small enough to curl up next to that bear, and you would be safe, for he is too deep in the dream to notice you. The sound of his breath would put you to sleep in minutes. It is a sound that says, everything is fine. It is a sound that says, there is no rush. It is the sound of the earth sleeping. Even though he breathes so rarely, his blood remains fully oxygenated. This is another scientific marvel. Because he has stopped the spending, he has plenty of currency. When you stop spending energy on worry, on tension, on fighting the cold, on digestion, on movement, you find that you have plenty of fuel left. You find that you have enough. You always have enough. The bear is balanced. He is in equilibrium with the winter. He is not fighting the season. He is breathing with the season. Winter is slow. He is slow. Winter is quiet. He is quiet. Winter is dark. He is dark. When we fight the night, we cannot sleep. When we lie in bed, trying to solve the problems of the day, we are bringing the summer speed into the winter rest. Be like the bear. Accept the night. Breathe with the night. Become the night. The den is a capsule of recycled time and recycled air. The moisture that leaves his lungs hits the cool wall of the snow-packed entrance, condenses, and perhaps freezes, only to sublime back into vapor and be breathed in again. Nothing leaves, nothing enters. He is complete. As we lie here, mirroring this stillness, feeling the phantom weight of the earth above us, we begin to understand that the breath is not just a biological function. It is a tether. It is the string that holds the balloon to the ground, and the bear has loosened that string until he is barely held down at all. He is ready to float. We have quieted the heart. We have stilled the wind of the breath. But there is one final component of this physical stasis that we must address. The bear is not just a machine of blood and air. He is a creature of heat. He is a furnace. And while he has turned down the oxygen and slowed the pump, he must still maintain the fire. If the fire goes out, the game is over. So, how does he stay warm without eating? How does he keep his body from freezing solid when the ground around him is hard as iron? In the next chapter, we will look at the pilot light. We will examine the glowing embers of the metabolism that refuse to die. We will look at how the bear recycles his own waste to build new muscle, a feat of alchemy that mocks our understanding of biology. But for now, stay here in the breathless dark. Stay in the pause. Don't rush to the exhale. The air will wait for you. The world will wait for you. Just float. Now that we have quieted the heart to a ghostly rhythm and stretched the breath into long, silent ribbons of air, we must descend deeper into the bear's fortress to discover the most critical secret of all, the hidden fire that keeps the darkness at bay. If you were to touch a stone on the forest floor in mid-January, it would burn your skin with its cold. It is dead matter, surrendered completely to the temperature of the air, which might hover at 30 degrees below zero. If you touched a tree, it too would be frozen solid, its sap turned to viscous glass, waiting in a state of suspended animation that is closer to death than life. Even the ground squirrels and the frogs, who also sleep the winter away, allow their bodies to drop to near freezing temperatures, their blood laced with natural antifreeze, their hearts stopping for minutes at a time. They survive by becoming ice, but the bear is different. The bear refuses to freeze. Deep inside the den, under the insulation of snow and earth, curled within that thick sphere of fur and fat, the bear is maintaining a physiological miracle. He is hot, while the world outside has turned into a freezer. The bear's internal temperature drops only a few degrees from a normal mammalian warmth of about 98 degrees Fahrenheit down to perhaps 88 degrees. To the touch, he would feel feverishly warm against the biting cold of the air. He is a furnace in a landscape of ice. He is a biological defiance of thermodynamics. This state is what scientists call high-temperature hibernation. It is energetically expensive. It is dangerous to keep a body that large 600 pounds warm for 6 months without adding a single stick of wood to the fire seems impossible. In our human world, if you stop eating, your metabolism crashes. You get cold. Your body begins to consume itself in a panic. You shiver violently to generate heat until your muscles fail. But the bear does not shiver. Shivering is a waste of energy. Shivering is for amateurs. The bear has a more elegant solution. He possesses a secret weapon, a specialized tissue that we have largely lost in our evolution. Brown adipose tissue, or brown fat. We are used to thinking of fat as white, lumpy, and inert energy storage for a rainy day. But brown fat is different. It is packed with mitochondria, the power plants of the cell. It is rich in blood vessels, which gives it its dark color. And its sole purpose in the body is not to store energy, but to burn it directly into heat. Think of brown fat as an electric blanket woven into the bear's shoulders, neck, and chest, close to the vital organs. When the temperature in the den drops, when the frost creeps through the entrance, the bear's brain sends a signal. The brown fat ignites. It doesn't create motion. It creates pure thermal energy. It warms the blood rushing through it, which then circulates to the heart and brain, keeping the pilot light burning steady and blue. This internal fire allows the bear to be ready, unlike the ground squirrel, which would take hours to warm up enough to move. The bear can wake up quickly if the den is flooded or threatened. He is sleeping deeply, yes, but his engine is idling, not off. He is humming with a latent power. But where does the fuel come from if he is not eating? What is feeding the fire? This brings us to the closed-loop system, the most baffling and beautiful aspect of the bear's winter. For 6 months, half a year, the bear does not eat, he does not drink, and perhaps most surprisingly, he does not urinate or defecate. In a human, if you stopped urinating for a few days, toxins would build up in your blood. Urea, a byproduct of protein breakdown, would poison your kidneys and your brain. You would die of uremia, It is a painful, toxic end. But the bear is an alchemist. His body takes the urea, the waste product, and instead of treating it as poison, he treats it as a resource. He breaks it down. He strips the nitrogen from the urea molecules, and then he recycles it. He sends that nitrogen back into the system to build new protein. Imagine that. He is eating his own waste, chemically speaking, and turning it back into muscle, while he lies there, motionless for months. He is constantly repairing himself. He is maintaining his muscle mass. He is keeping his heart strong. He is defying the laws of atrophy that apply to the rest of the animal kingdom. He is a self-contained ecosystem. He needs nothing from the outside world. He doesn't need the river. He doesn't need the prey. He doesn't need the sun. He has turned inward and found that he is infinite. This ability to be completely self-sufficient is a profound concept. In our lives, we are constantly reaching out. We consume, we grab, we need. We need food, we need attention, we need validation, we need information, we need comfort. We are terrified of the void. We think that if we stop consuming, we will wither. The bear teaches us that the void is not empty. It can be filled from within. I have enough. The bear says with his silence, I am enough. He trusts his reserves. Those layers of fat he built up during the frenzy of summer are not excess. They are his battery. He draws from them slowly, sipping the energy with extreme precision. He calculates the cost of every beat of his heart, every breath of his lungs, every degree of heat in his body. He is an accountant of life, balancing the books every second to ensure he makes it to spring. The preservation of this pilot light is the central task of hibernation. It is the glowing ember in the fireplace after the logs have burned down. It is not a roaring bonfire anymore that would burn too fast. It is a steady, pulsing, red glow that promises, I am still here. Feel this concept in your own body right now. Bring your attention to your solar plexus, that spot just below your ribs, in the center of your torso. This is your hearth. This is where your digestive fire lives. In many ancient traditions, this is the center of personal power and vitality. Imagine a small, warm sphere of light there. It is golden. It is soft. It is not burning you. It is warming you. Radiant heat, like a stone that has been sitting in the sun all day. Feel that warmth spreading. It spreads slowly, like honey, outward from your center. It flows up into your chest, warming your heart, which we have already slowed down. It flows down into your belly, soothing your organs, telling them there is no work to do tonight. It flows down your legs, heavy and relaxing. But notice something. Your toes might feel a little cooler than your belly. Your fingers might be cooler than your heart. That is okay. That is the wisdom of the bear. When resources are scarce, the bear sacrifices the extremities to save the core. He constricts the blood vessels in his paws and his skin. He pulls the blood back. Come home, he says to the blood. Stay close to the center. Stay where the life is. If your feet are cold tonight, let them be cold. Pull your energy into your center. Protect the pilot light. The rest of the world can wait. The extremities, the emails, the errands, the distant worries can go cold for a while. You only need to keep the core burning. This state of thermal balance requires total surrender. You cannot fight the cold and hibernate at the same time. Fighting takes energy. Tension takes energy. Anxiety takes energy. Every time you worry about tomorrow, you are shivering. Every time you tense your shoulders, you are wasting fuel. Every time you replay a conversation from yesterday, you are leaking heat. The bear does not leak. He is sealed. He is insulated. He wraps himself in layers of earth, snow, fur, fat, and finally, acceptance. He accepts the winter. He accepts the stillness. He accepts that for now, his only job is to glow. It is a humble job, but it is the most important one. Just to exist, just to keep the light on. Think of a lighthouse in a storm. The lighthouse keeper doesn't go out and fight the waves. He doesn't yell at the wind. He just keeps the lamp lit. He keeps the glass clean. He stays inside and keeps the fire burning. You are the lighthouse. Your body is the tower. Your breath is the fuel. And that deep, quiet sense of I am is the flame. As the winter drags on, the snow deepens over the den. The days get longer, almost imperceptibly, but the cold gets deeper. February is the cruelest month. The reserves are running low. The bear is thinner now. He has burned perhaps a third of his body weight. His coat hangs a little looser, but his fire is still steady. His water recycling system is working perfectly. His protein recycling is keeping his heart muscular. He is a marvel of efficiency. Scientists have studied bear hibernation, hoping to cure human diseases. Imagine if we could lie in bed for months without getting bed sores or weak muscles. Imagine if we could cure kidney failure by recycling our own waste. Imagine if we could endure the vacuum of space travel by slowing our metabolism down like a bear. We look to the bear for medical miracles, but we should also look to him for spiritual ones. He teaches us the miracle of enoughness. He shows us that we are built to endure seasons of darkness, seasons of scarcity, seasons of silence. We don't need to be afraid of them. We have everything we need built right into our own design. We have our own brown fat metaphorically. At least, we have reserves of resilience. We have reserves of patience. We have reserves of hope. We just need to access them. We need to stop thrashing and start trusting. Trust the pilot light. It was lit the day you were born, and it hasn't gone out yet. It knows what to do. It doesn't need you to manage it. It doesn't need you to stare at it. It just needs you to get out of the way. Stop fanning the flames with your anxiety. Stop poking the logs with your thoughts. Let the fire settle. Let it become coals. Let it become the steady, enduring heat of the earth itself. In this deep, warm state, the bear is suspended in time. His body is stable. His heart is slow. His breath is long. And his heat is contained. But what about his mind? Where has he gone? A brain that complex cannot simply switch off. Does he dream? Does he hallucinate? Does he float in a void of nothingness as we prepare to leave the warm, physical sanctuary of the body? In the next chapter, we will have to venture into the river of time. We will explore the strange, foggy landscape of the hibernating mind, where seconds stretch into hours and months vanish in a blink. We will ask the question, what does a bear know about time? But for now, stay by the fire. Stay centered in that warmth in your belly. You are a closed loop. You are safe. You are whole. You are not cold. You are not empty. You are simply burning low, saving your light for the spring that will surely come. Sleep in the warmth. Now that we have fortified the body, stilled the heart, and banked the internal fire, we must venture into the most profound and intangible mystery of all, the landscape of the hibernating mind. Where does a bear go when he closes his eyes in November, and doesn't he open them again until April? It is a question that feels almost spiritual. We know his physical coordinates. We know he is curled beneath the roots of the cedar, encased in snow and earth. But consciousness is not a place on a map. Consciousness is a state of being. And the state the bear enters is so alien to our modern, hyper-alert human experience that we struggle to find words for it. Science calls it torpor, but torpor feels too clinical, too cold. It sounds like laziness. It sounds like giving up. What the bear is doing is not giving up. It is embarking on a voyage. He is stepping into a boat without oars, pushing off from the shore of the waking world, and allowing himself to be carried away by a dark, slow-moving current. This is the river of time. In our world, time is a tyrant. It is a rigid grid of seconds, minutes, and hours. We chop our days into blocks. We set alarms. We are constantly checking the clock, calculating how much time we have left to finish a task, to get to a meeting, to sleep before the alarm rings again. Our brains are wired for anticipation. We live in the future tense. What do I need to do next? Or we live in the past tense. Why did I say that? We rarely live in the present. But deep in the den, there are no clocks, There is no sun to mark the passage of the day. There is no moon to pull the tides of mood. There is only the eternal now, as the bear settles into torpor. His brain chemistry shifts fundamentally. In the summer, his mind was buzzing with beta waves fast, reactive electrical impulses that helped him hunt, navigate, and solve problems. Is that a rival male? Is that a ripe blueberry bush? His brain was a computer processing millions of data points every second. But now the computer is winding down. The operating system is changing. The brain waves lengthen and slow, smoothing out into the deep, rolling valleys of delta waves. These are the waves of profound restoration. They are the waves of oblivion. Imagine a heavy velvet curtain being drawn across the stage of the mind. The drama of survival, the hunger, the cold, the territory disputes is left behind the curtain. The audience has gone home. The theater is dark. In this state, time becomes fluid. A minute can stretch into an hour can compress into a second. Days bleed into weeks, and weeks melt into months, without a single landmark to distinguish them. To the bear, the entire winter might feel like a single, long night of uninterrupted rest. He exists in a perpetual twilight, a gray zone between waking and sleeping that is neither fully here nor fully there. We know from observing captive bears that they are not comatose. They can wake up. If you were to crawl into the den and poke a sleeping bear, which I strongly advise against, he would rouse. He would groan. He might even lift his heavy head and look at you with groggy, confused eyes. But his reaction time would be slow. His mind would be wading through molasses. He is conscious, but he is detached. This detachment is a superpower. It is the ability to be aware of the world, but not engaged with it. Scientists have discovered something fascinating about the bear's brain during hibernation. The synaptic connections between neurons, the tiny bridges that allow thoughts to travel from one cell to another, actually retreat. They shrink, they disconnect. It is as if the brain is physically unplugging itself to save energy. It is a biological system reset. Think of your own computer when you have too many tabs open. It gets slow. It gets hot. The fan whirs loudly. It starts to freeze. What is the only solution? You have to restart it. You have to clear the cache. You have to let it cool down. Hibernation is the great restart. The bear is clearing the cache of his mind. All the stress of the summer, all the near misses with predators, all the desperate hunger, all the noise is being washed away. Proteins called tau, which in humans are associated with Alzheimer's disease, when they tangle, accumulate in the bear's brain during winter. But here is the miracle. In the spring, the bear clears them out perfectly. He reverses the damage. He emerges with a brain that is sharper, cleaner, and more efficient than before. His memory is intact. He remembers exactly where the best berry patches are, but the emotional weight of the past year has been shed. I want you to imagine stepping into this river with the bear. Imagine that you are unhooking yourself from the tyranny of the clock. Visualize a rope that ties you to the shore of doing. Untee the knot, push the boat off the sand, and let the current take you. You are drifting. There is no rudder. There are no oars. You don't need to steer. The river knows where it is going. As you drift, the sounds of your life fade away. The ticking of the clock on your wall. Ignore it. The worries about tomorrow's schedule, let them dissolve in the water. You are moving into bear time. In bear time, there is no urgency. If you wake up in the middle of the night, that is okay. You are just drifting. If you sleep for 10 hours, that is okay. The river is long. If you stare at the ceiling for a while, that is okay. The fog is thick. There is no such thing as wasting time, because time has no value here. It is abundant. It is infinite. Even though the bear's body is dormant, his senses are still quietly monitoring the environment. He can hear the crack of a tree falling under the weight of snow nearby. He can sense the vibration of a wolf pack passing overhead. But he chooses not to react. He filters it out. Is this a threat? His primitive brain asks. No, the deep wisdom answers. It is just the wind. Go back to sleep. This ability to filter, to choose not to react, is profound. In our modern lives, we have lost this filter. We react to everything. A notification pings, we jump. A car honks, we tense up. A thought pops into our head, we chase it down a rabbit hole of anxiety. We are constantly twitching. Tonight, borrow the bear's filter. If a thought comes into your mind, a worry about money, a replay of an awkward conversation, a fear about the future, simply acknowledge it. Say to yourself, that is just the wind, and let it go. Don't chase it, don't fight it. Just let it blow past the entrance of your den. Sink back into the river. Some researchers believe that bears might dream during this long sleep, but their dreams would be very different from ours. Our dreams are often chaotic, filled with rapid eye movement and intense narratives. We are running. We are falling. We are late for an exam. They are stress dreams. But the bear's dreams, they would be slow, sensory, textural. Perhaps he dreams of the taste of a single, perfect huckleberry, bursting with sweetness in his mouth. Perhaps he dreams of the feeling of cold water rushing over his fur on a hot day. Perhaps he dreams of the smell of damp earth after a rainstorm. Dreams that are not stories, but paintings. Dreams that have no beginning and no end. Imagine your own dreams slowing down tonight. instead of a busy movie with a complicated plot. Just visualize a color, a deep, warm, comforting brown, or a soft, mossy green. Let your mind rest on that color. Let it fill your vision. There is nothing to figure out, just the color, just the texture of sleep. We are reaching the deepest part of the winter now in our story. Outside the den, the solstice has passed. The nights are technically beginning to shorten, but imperceptibly. Down here, in the dark, it is still the dead of night. The bear has been asleep for 3 months, 90 days. Think about that. 90 sunrises he has not seen. 90 sunsets he has not witnessed. He has traveled millions of miles on the river of time without moving an inch. His body is thinner now. He has burned through a significant portion of his fat reserves. He is literally lighter, but he is also metaphysically lighter. He has shed the heaviness of the world. He is distilled essence of bear. And you, listening to this voice, you are becoming lighter too. The heavy burdens you carried into bed with you, the expectations, the regrets, the fears are floating away downstream. They are too heavy for this boat. You have to leave them on the shore. You are just a consciousness floating in the dark, warm, safe, timeless, formless, boundless. This state of suspension is terrifying to the ego. The ego wants to know who it is. It wants to know what time it is. It wants to know where it is going. But the soul loves this state. The soul knows that it comes from the dark, and it will return to the dark. It knows that in the silence, it can hear itself think. The bear is comfortable with his own company. He doesn't need distractions. He doesn't need a phone to scroll through. He doesn't need a TV to watch. He is entertained by his own existence. He finds the universe inside his own mind. As the river flows on, carrying us gently toward a morning that is still far away, realize that there is no rush to get there. The destination is not the point. The drift is the point. Enjoy the drift. Enjoy the nothingness. Let go of the shore completely now. The current is holding you. It is strong enough to carry you. The darkness is holding you. It is soft enough to cushion you. The warmth is holding you. It is deep enough to sustain you. You are drifting, drifting. The bear is a master of patience. He knows that spring cannot be forced. It will come when the tilt of the earth dictates it. It will come when the sun is ready. No amount of worrying will melt the snow faster. No amount of checking the entrance will make the flowers bloom. So he waits, and in his waiting, he finds peace. Most of our suffering comes from wanting things to be different than they are. We want it to be warmer. We want it to be later. We want to be somewhere else. The bear accepts exactly where he is. He accepts the cold. He accepts the dark. He accepts the hunger. And by accepting it, he transcends it. Tonight, Accept where you are. Accept that you are tired. Accept that you have done enough. Accept that the world will spin without you for a few hours. You are safe in the river of time. It is a loop. It circles back on itself. The sleep you take tonight will fuel the waking you do tomorrow. But you cannot jump ahead. You have to go through the dark to get to the light. In the next and final chapter of our journey, we will sense the very first stirrings of change. We will feel the whisper of spring. We will watch as the bear's body begins to wake up from this long, beautiful coma. We will see the return of the sun. But not yet, not quite yet. Stay in the river a little longer. Stay in the timeless drift of the deep winter sleep. The water is smooth as glass. The fog is comforting. The silence is a song. Let yourself be carried. Good night, forever, and for now. As the current of the timeless river carries us gently toward a distant shore, and the silence of the winter mind begins to thin like morning mist, we return one last time to the physical reality of the den to witness the slow, miraculous resurrection of the world. We have slept for a season, or perhaps it was a lifetime, in the velvet darkness beneath the roots of the ancient cedar. Time ceased to hold dominion over us. We drifted between breaths, suspended in a state of grace, wrapped in the warmth of our own inner fire, while the blizzards raged above. We became the stone. We became the root. We became the silence itself. Now, however, the earth is shifting. It is subtle at first, almost imperceptible, like the change in the air before a storm, but reversed. It is a softening. It is a loosening of the iron grip. Imagine the landscape above the den. For months, it has been a fortress of ice and snow, a monochrome world of whites and grays. The trees stood like skeletons, brittle and snapping in the wind. The river was a silent highway of ice. But now, something celestial is happening. The sun is climbing higher in the sky. The arc of the day is stretching out, minute by precious minute, reclaiming the darkness. The light is changing from the cold, clinical blue of midwinter to a softer, warmer gold. Deep in the den, the bear does not see the sun. He is still buried under feet of snow, but he feels it. His body is a perfect instrument of nature, tuned to the frequency of the seasons with a precision that makes our most advanced technology look clumsy. The pineal gland in his brain, that silent conductor we met at the start of our journey, senses the shift in the photoperiod. Even through the earth, it registers the warming of the soil. It feels the vibration of water beginning to move again. The chemical signals begin to change. The melatonin that has acted as a heavy blanket over his consciousness begins to recede. The hibernation induction trigger, a mysterious substance in the blood that scientists have spent decades trying to identify begins to dissolve. The brain sends a new message to the body, a gentle nudge, a whisper in the dark. Prepare. The world is waking up. But this is not a sudden alarm. It is not the jarring ring of a clock that shatters a dream. It is a slow, luxurious awakening. It is the dawn breaking over a calm sea. Think of a block of ice sitting in the early spring sun. It doesn't shatter. It softens. It becomes translucent, begins to weep tiny tears of water. That is how the bear wakes up. He melts back into life. His heart, which has beaten at 8 or 10 times a minute for so long a lonely drum in the night, begins to stir. Thump, thump. From 10 beats, it rises to 12, then 15, then 20. It is like a train engine picking up steam, chugging slowly out of the station. The blood, which has been thick and slow, begins to thin and accelerate, carrying a fresh surge of oxygen to the sleeping muscles. The paws begin to twitch, the ears swivel. His breath deepens. The long, impossible pauses between inhales become shorter. The chest expands a little more fully with each cycle. Oxygen rushes in, waking up the cellular machinery, energizing the mitochondria, shaking off the dust of the long sleep. The body temperature begins to rise, degree by degree, climbing back from the cool efficiency of torpor to the vibrant heat of a waking mammal. This process is scientifically known as arousal, but that word feels too clinical for something so poetic. It is a resurrection. It is a return from the underworld. The bear is shaking off the little death, but even as he stirs, he does not rush. There is no hurry to leave the den. The snow outside is still deep. The food is still scarce. There are no berries yet, no salmon running in the thawing streams. So he lingers. He hits the snooze button of nature. He drifts in and out of sleep, savoring the last moments of pure, unadulterated rest. Think of those mornings when you wake up before your alarm on a Sunday. The room is cool, but the bed is warm. The pillow is perfectly soft. You know you have to get up eventually, but not yet. You stretch your legs. You curl your toes. You feel the delicious heaviness of your own limbs. You exist in a state of absolute comfort, floating between the dream and the day. That is where the bear is right now. He is not jumping out of bed to be productive. He is not checking a to-do list. He is simply feeling the return of his own energy. He grooms his fur. He yawns a massive, jaw-stretching yawn that seems to expel the last of the winter staleness from his lungs. He stretches his back against the earthen wall of the den, scratching an itch that has been waiting for months. When he finally decides to break the seal, it is a momentous event. He pushes his nose through the remaining snow at the entrance. The first breath of fresh, spring air hits his lungs. It is sharp, It smells of wet mud, of rotting leaves, of new green shoots pushing through the frost. It smells of life. Science tells us that when bears emerge, they enter a state called walking hibernation. For 2 or 3 weeks, their metabolism remains surprisingly low. They don't eat much. They don't run. They walk slowly, blinking in the sunlight, reacquainting themselves with gravity, with light, with sound. They are like monks returning from a long silent retreat. They are gentle. They are observant. They might sit by the base of a tree for hours, just watching the snow melt. They might watch a squirrel chatter on a branch and not even move to chase it. They are transitioning. This is a profound lesson for us. In our modern lives, we often try to jump from deep sleep into high gear in seconds. We jolt awake, grab our phones, drink caffeine, and start running. We force our bodies to go from 0 to 60 before our eyes are even fully open. But nature suggests a different way. Nature suggests transition. Nature suggests gentleness. Allow yourself to wake up slowly. Allow yourself to transition from the dark to the light. There is no need to force the bloom. The flower opens when it is ready. The river breaks the ice when it is ready. The bear leaves the den when the time is right, and not a moment sooner. As the snow melts, it trickles down into the earth. Drip, drip. It waters the roots of the ancient cedar tree that protected the bear all winter. The cycle continues. The sleep has served its purpose. The bear has survived. He is thinner. Yes, he may have lost 1/3 of his body weight, but he is rested. He is cleansed. His cells have repaired themselves. His brain has cleared away the toxins of the past. He is ready to be born again into the green world of summer. But for you, listening to this voice, the spring has not yet arrived. For you, the den is still warm. The blankets are still heavy. The night is still yours. We have reached the end of the story of the great hibernation, but we have not reached the end of your rest. In fact, we have merely prepared the ground for it. You have heard how the bear slows his heart. You have learned how to deepen your breath. You have visualized the pilot light of warmth within. You have floated on the river of time. Now you have a choice. You can imagine yourself as the bear emerging into the gentle sunlight, refreshed and renewed. Or you can choose to stay in the den a little longer. You can choose to let the winter last for another hour, another dream, another night. The bear may be stirring, but you do not have to. You can remain in the torpor. You can remain in the pause. Let the feeling of spring be just a promise in the distance, a whisper that says, tomorrow will be beautiful. Tomorrow the sun will shine. Tomorrow the world will be green again. But tonight is for sleep. Tonight is for the dark. Most of our anxiety comes from fearing that the winter will never end. We fear that the darkness is permanent. We fear that if we stop moving, we will never start again. The bear teaches us that this is a lie. The spring always comes. The energy always returns. The sun always rises. You don't have to make it happen. You don't have to worry about it. It is inevitable, because it is guaranteed. You can let go. You can stop holding up the sky. Feel the bed supporting you right now. It is your den. Feel the air breathing you. It is the atmosphere of the earth. Feel the darkness holding you. It is the velvet curtain of peace. Think of the bear one last time. He is out there, somewhere in the vast wilderness of your imagination. Walking slowly through the melting snow. He is calm. He is powerful. He is at peace with his world. He carries the silence of the winter in his heart, even as he walks into the noise of the spring. You can carry that silence too. As my voice fades, let it be replaced by the rhythm of your own slow heart. Let it be replaced by the sound of your own deep breath. The story is over. The science is silent. The facts have drifted away. There is nothing left to learn tonight. There is nothing left to understand. There is only the feeling of heaviness in your eyelids. There is only the warmth in your limbs. Drift away now. Drift back into the deep, dark, comfortable silence of your own hibernation. Let the seasons turn without you. Let the world spin without you. You have done enough. You are enough. The den is closed. The snow is falling softly outside, covering everything in a blanket of white, and inside, everything is warm. Good night. Sleep well and dream deeply.